A very good evening to you all. Let us discuss something, the case study based questions which are there in our CBSE Psychology Class 11. The case studies are the new pattern of questions which are introduced by the CBSE. So, how a case study based question will be there and how to answer these things we will learn today. Let us see certain model case studies which I framed in order to make you people understand. The first one is taken from the chapter 2, methods of psychological research and inquiry. Before going into the field to collect data, Mike and Robert, the two research academics, decides, decided on the topic of a study on teachers' perceptions regarding the teaching profession in London City. So you look into this area. The topic is very clear. They accidentally included several questions on the questionnaire that had nothing to do with the subject, but their research supervisor pointed this out and they were forced to eliminate the off topic questions. They spent more than 20 days touring different schools and spoke with teachers while visiting more than 100 schools with the prepared inventory to gather the views and opinions of the teachers. After the data was analyzed, the conclusions of the two researchers were more or less in agreement, means more or less similar here. So you look into this area. In this case study, the first thing they went when they are making their own tool for research, they selected some irrelevant questions. After that, the research committee basically made them to remove these items. When they removed and they went to the schools and means with the latest inventory, they moved and they visited and they collected the data. The data is more or less same in this matter. Now, what are the questions basically in this case study? You see, determine the research method used by Mike and Robert in the current study and explain it. The question comes to you like this way. So the method which is used by both the two research scholars is, I can say, survey method. Survey method generally we use to collect the data from a large number of sample. When the sample is so big, in order to cover a huge number, we go with a survey technique. And within the survey, we use questionnaires, personal interviews, or sometimes we go for observation, or we use checklist or a rating scale. So survey is defined as the act of examining a process or questioning a selected sample of individuals to get the data about a service, a product or process. You see, generally the survey is conducted before the elections in India, like as exit polls. Surveys are done by the various famous well-known companies before launching their products to know the customer, even after launching the product also to know the customer satisfaction. Generally they depend on survey method. So here the method of investigation is the survey. Now the second question, if you see, the test content will lack whatever standardization feature and explain it if the research supervisor failed to identify the irrelevant questions. You see what it is talking. You see the question says whatever the standardization feature which is not found in the prior inventory, means when they selected the irrelevant questions, we are saying, you see, when you do the research and in the research process, if you select some questions which are not related to your research, then we say the missing topic is validity in this area. The missing concept is validity. What is validity? You see, validity means does the test measures what it claims to measure. For example, if you are making a questionnaire to assess the personality of the people, and you need to frame the personality assessment related questions. Rather than this, if you are going out and you are selecting some questions which are related to the attitude of the person or some questions related to intelligence, means that is not a valid inventory or a valid questionnaire. So we need to rectify and we need to check the validity, then only we will be allowed to do the investigation. So these are the two questions. Each question carries two marks here. You need to identify what is missing and explain it here. And you need to identify the method in the previous question and explain the method. So for identification, 1 mark. For explanation, 1 mark here. Let's move to the case study number 2. Kelvin, a grade 10 student who has started at a new school, attends one that is close to a movie theater. Okay, the school is very close to the movie theater. Please be careful here. The buzzer will be pressed in the movie theater early morning, okay, each morning at 10 a.m., while the school break starts at 10:15 a.m. Kelvin, as a new student, hears the sound from a movie theater. He assumes it is the school bell and constantly tries to leave the classroom. After a few days, Kelvin learned to distinguish between the buzzer sound from the movie theater and the school bell signaling the start of recess. And he stopped responding to the buzzer sound from the movie theater, you see. This is a case study taken from the chapter 6 learning. Now, let us go to the questions here. What kind of circumstance results from an inability to distinguish between two comparable stimuli? You see, two comparable stimuli, theater sound, theater buzzer, and the school bell. Both the two are the sounds, the bell sounds and the buzzers both. And the child is not able to identify the difference in the early phase. So this is basically happening because of due to law of generalization. When people cannot find out the difference between the two things, that time we can say it is because of due to generalization. This is related to the Pavlov's classical conditioning experiment, you see. On the base of the classical conditioning, we have the key learning principles, law of generalization. The generalization takes place when you fail to distinguish the difference between the two stimuli. Let's make a move to the second question. Understanding the variations between the buzzer sound of a movie theater and the sound of a school bell can help one determine which law of learning is being used here, you see. Second one, after the generalization, after some time, Kelvin was able to identify the difference between the school bell and the theaters, the buzzer sound which is coming from the theater. And he started responding only to this particular bell sound, you see, here it is. So this is basically law of discrimination. When the child is able to separate or differentiate the two similar stimuli as different, that time we can say that it is discrimination. So the law of discrimination. So identify which law and explain that law. Each one mark here. Let's make a move to the case study number 3. A car manufacturer wants to design a new car. They distribute questionnaires to people on what color they most like, what features they want, or whether they prefer an electric vehicle or a gas powered one. After the results are analyzed, product planners can design a car that appeals to customers, you see. I can say here, the car manufacturer want to design means he want to know the pulse of the customer here. So they gave a questionnaire to people, what color they most like, what features they want, they prefer an electric engine or they prefer a petrol fuel one or a gas powered one, whatever it is, you see. Now let's move to the questions here on the base of this case scenario. Just a minute, just a minute. So what are the different techniques in this method that can be used to collect information from a large number of participants of research, you see? What are the methods actually we can use here? First one, a questionnaire you can use, personal interview, telephonic survey, controlled observation, you see. So you want to know the people's opinion, better is the questionnaire. These are all part of the survey method only. Within the survey, you are depending on these techniques, a questionnaire, a personal interview, telephonic survey, controlled observation. Now, determine the research method used by the car manufacturer in the current study. This is the first question, guys. Sorry, I went to the second question because of the PPT is changing. You see, the survey method was employed to collect the data. Okay, survey. Already we learn about survey in previous case study. So the survey method. And the survey method, how survey is a method of investigation, but data collection technique is totally different. The data collection can be done with a questionnaire, with a personal interview technique, telephonic survey, telephonic way, telephonic conversation, or in controlled observe, in-depth interview also we can consider here. Depth interview we can say. Let's go to the case study number 4. Martin's dad drives him to college every day. In this way, Martin learns the route from his house to school, but he is never driven there himself. So he has not had a chance to demonstrate that he has learned the way. Martin's dad bought a new bike and gifted to Martin. And one morning, his dad has to leave early for a meeting, so he cannot drive Martin to college. Instead, Martin follows the same route on his bike that his dad would have taken in the car. Martin had learned the route to school but had no need to demonstrate this knowledge earlier. I can say here, sorry, we use the word college and ending we said the word school, but no problem. Just imagine in this case study. So the child is dropped by his father to the school. He is never driven there himself, so he has not had a chance to demonstrate. And he was observing his father, but you see, he is building the route map in his mind. And one day the father is not able to drop him. Before that, the father bought a new bike and gifted to him. So he know how to go to the school. So he used the bike and he reached safely, you see. In this case, identify the type of learning demonstrated by Martin here, you see. What is the learning style, you see? It is the latent learning. In latent learning, a new behavior is learned but will not be demonstrated until the reinforcement is provided. In this case study, if you observe, Martin learned the new behavior of going to the school or the college, but he did not demonstrate that one. He is waiting for an opportunity. He is just waiting for an opportunity, you know. He's waiting for an opportunity and he is waiting for his parents to reward him. So the reward came already here. The reinforcement came in the form of new bike. So automatically you see, a new behavior is learned but will not be displayed or demonstrated until the reinforcement is given. So the new bike is the reinforcement. Once he got the new bike, he started using and he reached to the school. You see here it is, the new behavior is demonstrated. Let's move to the next question in the case study 4. What is learned is not a specific set of conditioned associations between stimuli and responses, but a cognitive relationship between the means and an end. So this statement, if you read, you need to identify what kind of learning it is actually. Insight learning. Generally, we say when the word comes means and an end, it is related to insight learning. Look into this area. Insight learning theory, latent learning theory, both the two are part of the cognitive learning theories. Both the two are part of the cognitive theories of learning. Jonah went to the hypermarket one pleasant morning to get groceries, and she was navigating her way through the stores, many lines. She was able to identify the vacant spaces in her refrigerator and kitchen, and she is now seeing images of those objects to accurately choose to the necessary items from the hypermarket. You see, this is taken from memory chapter 7. From human memory, we took this case study for you. Identify and explain the method used by Jonah to enhance her memory here. See, method of Loki. Method of Loki is a method basically used to improve your memory, where you try to scan the image of your refrigerator or your kitchen. What are the things you see? The refrigerator first, you need see the first shelf or the first rack. You are going to keep the what items. Every day you will keep something. Okay, whenever you keep certain items, since so many years you are using the refrigerator, or you're using in kitchen, where you keep some things like your locations you're going to keep in your mind. You're locating these areas. On the basis of these locations, you will try to imagine, oh, this area is empty, I need to fill this area. So you will remember easily. See, visualizing and trying to identify the particular objects, and you need to fill those gaps. On the base of this, you will do your grocery purchase here. What is the famous technique developed by Thomas and Robinson in enhancing the memory? You see, one of the best technique it is actually to develop the memory. Thomas and Robinson together developed this technique, PQRST method. You can see the PQRST method, we have P for preview, Q for question, R for read, S for self-recitation, T for test. So if you follow this acronym PQRST, you will be able to build your memory or enhance your memory in a much better way. It is the last case study today. You see, up until the 10th grade, Clark studied mathematics laws. Later, he changed his line of study to emphasize art and music. He was accepted into one of the top fine arts colleges in London, and during the initial stages of learning music, Clark experienced some challenges. However, he was able to overcome these challenges over time and graduated from the art school 5 years later. However, when Clark came across his old class 10th, the old class 10 math notes, he was unable to recall the concepts from those notes. Now look into this case study. It is related to again memory topic. Identify the kind of forgetting experienced by Clark in the current case. You see, Clark studied the mathematics up to class 10. He shifted his, the focus of interest from maths to music side. After a long time, when he saw the notebook, he opened the book, but everything became new to him. Here, the forgetting is forgetting due to trace decay, which says whatever the memory we have, when we don't use that memory, the traces will fade away. So the forgetting due to trace decay is one of the oldest explanation about the forgetting, and it is having a lot of limitations like skills, basically cycling, swimming, driving the car. Even you don't drive for 10-15 years, but you will not forget, because this theory forgetting due to trace decay is having certain limitations for basically the skills. Skill learning will not fall under this category. What kind of learning is related to learning music, and describe the stages of that kind of learning? You see, skill learning. Music learning is again skill, it is basically skill. See, I discuss with you people, forgetting due to trace decay will not apply to the skills. Learning music is basically a skill. So in the skill learning, we have three phases: cognitive phase, associative phase, autonomous phase. In cognitive phase, first you will collect the all the instructions related to the particular skill, means theoretical instructions you are going to receive. Associative phase, while remembering all those given instructions, you will try to practice. So in associative phase, attentional demands will be very high. The last one is autonomous phase. Autonomous phase is the area where you are perfect in the particular skill, and automatically you will try to practice, and there is no need, means here attentional demands will get reduced or decrease in this area. Sorry guys, I have a seventh case study for you. Lily, a 5-year-old, started kindergarten and was ecstatic to be there. She also seemed to enjoy the school a lot. She is constantly eager and interested in getting to know how parents and introducing them to others. She said, "He is my dad," when introducing her father to a friend one day. One night, she went to her mother and said that she was being watched and followed every night by the moon. Look into this. It is related to the chapter 4, Human Development in Psychology, class 11. The question case study is related to Jean Piaget's cognitive development. What is animism, and identify what is it in the case of Lily? Animism, which refers to animism, meaning is a character of pre-operational period. where the child will give the life to each and everything whatever is existing. You know, first the child will give the life to everything whatever is existing. After some time the child will give the life to whatever is moving. Now you look into this area. So in the current case, the moon is watching me. You see, the moon is watching the baby here is an example of animism. A little child named Lily can introduce her father, but cannot claim that she is his daughter. Identify and explain the characteristic related to Lily here. Egocentrism. See, again, it is a part of the pre-operational development. Egocentrism. A child cannot be able to think from the other's point of view. And children generally what they do better, they try to understand the world from their own point of view and they feel that it is they are right. They think and they look into any topic or any point from their own point of view. For example, Lily can introduce her father. He is my dad. She cannot say, I am his daughter. So this is the egocentrism. We can say a kind of reversibility or reversible thinking will not be there in the among the children in the pre-operational period. That's it, guys. Please look into these case studies and try to understand how to answer, how to explain the case-based questions. Thank you very much.